Hi, my name is Paul Carlisle, and if you have type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, you've been diagnosed as pre-diabetic, or you have a loved one with any of these conditions, then stop what you are doing and listen, as these conditions and more can be completely reversed by yourself, from the comfort of your own home and without having to visit a single doctor or surgery. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you a little known diabetes curing secret that the $245 billion, yes, you heard me, $245 billion a year diabetes pharmaceutical industry is desperately scrambling to try and suppress. And if it seems like I'm trying to make them out to be the boogeyman, well, I am. And they are. Because this cure, yes, I said cure, will destroy the business model that's making them billions off this terrible disease. I'm going to tell you about something that has been unanimously shunned by the big pharma bribed medical community. The same method that has caused doctors who dare to reveal it to be fined, harassed, sued, and even jailed. And if you're thinking this diabetes cure is about strenuous exercise or starving yourself of delicious meals, think again. I'm talking about an all-natural, safe, and permanent, yes, that's right, permanent cure for diabetes. I'm talking about not just covering up your diabetes symptoms through so-called diabetes management medications or treatments, but tackling the root cause of your diabetes head on. Grabbing the root of the weed that is diabetes, tearing it out and tossing it away. For good. Permanently. Never to come back again. All naturally, all safely, all by following this one-of-a-kind method backed up by solid science. This exact same secret has even led to my discovery of a simple, seemingly bizarre but highly effective 30-second trick to instantly increasing your insulin sensitivity and energy expenditure, resulting in an immediate drop in blood sugar and rapid weight loss. This trick is something you've never heard of before, but something you can do right now at home, in just 30 seconds. And no, I'm not talking about swallowing a single tablet or supplement, or doing a single bit of exercise. This trick, I promise, will surprise you. Can you just imagine the absolute joy of finally saying adios to your diabetes? The feeling of waking up in the morning knowing that your blood sugar is under your control and will be throughout the entire day, no matter what you eat, drink, or do. Finally ending the day-to-day guesswork. No more needles, no more expensive and, contrary to popular belief, dangerous diabetes medications. More on this in just a moment. No more finger pricking or test strips. No more trips to the doctor for disappointing test after disappointing test. No more frustration and embarrassment. No more boring and tasteless diabetic-friendly food that does nothing but leave a hole in your wallet. And above all else, no more feeling trapped. Can you just imagine the feeling of knowing you're finally free? Finally rid of this debilitating disease. Finally able to no longer live in fear but in complete peace of mind in the knowledge you're no longer a burden or worry for your loved ones. No longer having to face the gut-wrenching decision of letting your family know this meeting may be their last with you. And how do you think your family will feel knowing that they've got their wife or husband or father or grandparent back the way they used to be before this disease stole you from them? You're probably calling me crazy right now, some sort of charlatan, and frankly, I would understand. I was the one thinking the same things not that long ago. And honestly, I still would be had I not had the opportunity to experience firsthand the totally astounding properties of this 3-week diabetes curing method. The beauty of this method, which I'll get to in just a moment, is that it's guaranteed to work, because it targets a strange and previously overlooked body tissue that we've had since birth, and that we never lose for our entire life. No matter if you're 8 years old or 80 years old, no matter if you have uncontrolled blood sugar, type 1, type 2, or even pre-diabetes, no matter if your doctor has told you your diabetes is permanent and irreversible, no matter if you've tried and failed with every single diabetes treatment or medication out there. And this is why I am so excited to bring this to you today, right this second. The shockingly simple natural diabetes destroying method that has not helped just me, but to this day helped cure over 29,854 people of their diabetes. Every single one of their doctors left muddling their words trying to fathom out their miraculous recovery. People like Jonathan Williams from Missouri, who wrote in to say,
"Hi, my name is Jonathan. I wanted to personally thank you for giving me the chance to try out your secret to curing my diabetes. It's been 22 days, and already I'm finally able to eat and drink whatever I like, carbs, cakes, you name it, without the worry and fear of my blood sugar shooting out of control and my energy dropping like a lead weight. I feel like a new man. Thank you so much."
And Valerie Davenport from Colorado.
Honestly, I was very skeptical when I heard about a diabetes curing secret. I had never heard of something like it before. As a longtime sufferer of type 2 diabetes for over 10 years, I was sick and tired of the day-to-day medications and testing, so I really had nothing to lose. Well, it's been only 26 days, and I never would have expected results like this. I have lost over 13 pounds of fat, and the most amazing part is that I'm now in total control of my blood glucose. My husband said I have never looked better, and I've never been so confident. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Valerie.
And people like Samuel Latham from California who said,
Hey, I'm just writing to you to thank you personally for giving me the opportunity to try out your diabetes curing secret. I mean, I've been following it carefully for just 3 weeks, and I've already noticed a dramatic change in my body. I have so much more energy, I'm feeling happier, and my blood sugar results don't lie. I'm no longer in the diabetic range. I can finally promise my grandkids that I'll see their graduation at college. Thank you so much. Samuel.
now this is pretty heady stuff, and I certainly wouldn't blame you if you're getting a little ticked, saying, this guy is about to sell me a load of useless crap, and he's selling me on it in the worst way. But truthfully, I'm describing to you how I felt when I finally kicked my diabetes to the curb. But the proof is in the pudding, and that's what you're going to discover if you bear with me and let me tell you a story. Don't worry, it has a happy ending, though I would have been much happier if I found out about all this years ago. After my doctor came back with my results over 10 years ago and told me I had type 2 diabetes, I was devastated. I was hopeless. Sadly, I was kind of expecting it. My father too had diabetes, and he did just what his doctor ordered. He took the meds he was prescribed, he cut back on sugary foods and carbs, he lost weight, he ate the bland, tasteless food, but ultimately, he never seemed to lose the disease. He seemed to get sicker and sicker each day. Eventually, peripheral arterial disease struck like it had for so many others, and the day finally came when the doctor decided it would be necessary to amputate his foot to save his life. As he was wheeled to the operating theater, I walked beside him. I could see he was scared, but as a proud man, he was holding it back. And frankly, I expected a proud man to be waking up in just a few hours, safe and smiling. But to the dismay of me and my family, and with my father so weak from years of diabetes medication and treatments, this sadly took him from us. And then, years later, lo and behold, the same medication that did zilch to prevent my father's death was the same medication my doctor prescribed me. And sure enough, I was steamrolling down the same hill faster than I ever thought possible. I started off with metformin. It made me sick and unable to breathe. He then put me on Amaryl, which only made me put on pounds of fat and dangerously lowered my blood sugar. He even put me on Actose, which made me tired, sick, and turned my skin yellow. Each time, I didn't want to think of the damage these so-called revolutionary drugs were doing to my body. In fact, a 2007 study in the New England Journal of Medicine linked the diabetic medicine Avendia to a 43% increased risk of heart attack and a 64% risk of cardiovascular death, compared to patients treated with other methods. I'm sure you can appreciate the frustration and hopelessness I was feeling. Nothing worked, and I was day by day damaging my organs and health and increasing my risk of death. For what? Just to help maintain my blood sugar levels? It didn't seem like the right way to go about it. But what else was there? I soon developed worrying heart problems which culminated in an excruciating pain in my chest. I was rushed to the hospital. I felt sick to my stomach. Would I suffer the same fate as my father? Was this really it? Was this the last time I would see my children and wife? I lay on the hospital trolley. Tears rolled down my eyes as I clutched my wife's hand so tight it went numb. Call it fate, call it what you like, but luckily for me and the fact I can share this story with you today, I survived. This was a wake-up call. If I continued on the path I was on, a path that you and so many others are following, it would be a surefire way to destroy my body from the inside out. A big Pharma-endorsed ticket to an early grave. But the course of my life changed as I sat in the wheelchair waiting to be discharged from the hospital. I heard my name. Paul. Paul. I turned around and it was an old doctor of mine, Dr. Evans from when I was younger, a highly acclaimed doctor, talented, articulate, and vastly intelligent. I admired every aspect of the way Dr. Evans worked, an Ivy League educated doctor who was completely down to earth. His wall of certificates and accolades was the most impressive I'd ever seen, and I visited a lot of docs. What happened to you, he asked. After I explained my situation, he proceeded to tell me something that I found hard to swallow at first. Unbeknownst to me, when it comes to diabetes medications and treatments, the medications prescribed go through the shortest clinical trials possible. Trials cost the pharmaceutical companies billions, and what if they find bad side effects? They ignore them. To cancel a drug after so long would be a huge loss of revenue. Instead, they invest heavily in medical establishments to ensure the medications are prescribed without a second thought of the consequences. This included the very hospital I was treated in, my doctor, and most likely your doctor too. You see, when a hospital or doctor is sponsored and backed by pharmaceutical money, you can only imagine what sort of influence this has on the prescriptions of medications. The cold truth is that the drug companies are publicly traded companies on the stock exchange. This means they are compelled to put their bottom line before anything else, including your health. So if they see a way to make billions year after year after year at the expense of drug users like you, they'll take it without a second thought. And if they need to cut some corners and tell some lies in order to make that happen, well, that's just business. Take the big pharma drug maker GlaxoSmithKline, for example. In 2012, they agreed to a whopping $3 billion settlement over marketing practices of many of their drugs, including the well-known diabetes drug Avandia. The charges included illegally marketing drugs, forging drug safety data, bribing doctors to promote dangerous and expensive drugs, ripping off Medicare and Medicaid, and lying about the effectiveness and safety of drugs. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. For them, and many other pharmaceutical companies who are committing criminal activity daily, it's a drop in the ocean considering their yearly turnover can be in the hundreds of billions. Big Pharma considers legal settlements to be just another cost of doing business. And if you think the FDA is the one body looking out for you, you've got another thing coming. Many of the doctors who sit on the FDA were put there by the very companies whose drugs they'll be testing. Combine that with the millions these companies give the FDA, and I don't have to tell you how often this supposedly neutral body will make a decision that will hurt these companies, even if it would help you, me, and the rest of the country. And there I was thinking the drugs I was prescribed were in my best interest. How very wrong I was. The sad but inescapable truth is, Big Pharma's diabetes drugs are physically incapable of curing and finally ending your diabetes. They're designed that way. It ensures those who take them remain a sufferer of diabetes till the day they die, which in turn ensures that these companies have a never-ending flow of money. Great for their execs and shareholders, not so great for us and millions like us. Let me tell you, when he was done explaining this to me, I was nearly sick to my stomach with rage. I didn't want to believe what he was saying, but it made way too much sense for me to ignore. It's one of those things that we don't think about because we figure we might as well not get all riled up over something we can't change. But then Dr. Evans kept talking. He told me about research in 2009 published in the Journal of Phytomedicine. It found that the herb named bitter melon was actually far superior to the diabetes medication Avandia in the management of diabetes and its complications. Dr. Evans explained that neutral remedies and treatments for diabetes do exist, and they exist in abundance. The same remedies that our ancestors used long before we knew about them. But you won't catch your easily bought doctor telling you about them, that's for sure. And Paul, he said, I'm going to tell you something, but you must not tell anyone it came from me. And then it was finally revealed, the secret that changed my life and thousands of those after me. Turned out, the control of my glucose could all be influenced by something called brown adipose tissue, or brown fat. Fat?